Welcome to She's Evolving. I'm Elena, a medical doctor specializing in endocrinology and female longevity. And today we are diving into a topic that is often whispered about in hushed tones, but deserves to be shouted from the rooftops: the reconstruction of our self-esteem, when the mirror starts telling a different story. We're talking about that moment when you look at your reflection and ask, who is this woman? And where did the person I used to know go?
And I'm Julia, a clinical psychologist. I work every day with women who are navigating the complex emotional landscape of their 40s, 50s, and beyond. If you've ever looked at yourself and felt like your old references, the things that defined your beauty, your worth, or your role in the world, are crumbling, this episode is for you. We're not just talking about wrinkles or weight. We're talking about the birth of a new essence. Before we start, if you haven't already, please follow the podcast and share this episode with a friend who needs to hear that she is not alone.
You know, Julia, just before we hit record, I was thinking about how much we focus on the loss part of this transition. We lose the collagen, we lose the predictable cycles, we lose the societal gaze that used to follow us. But we rarely talk about what we gain in the rubble of those old references.
It's so true, Elena. It's like we're taught to grieve the old version of ourselves without ever being given the tools to welcome the new one. I remember a specific morning about 3 years ago. I was getting ready for a session, putting on my makeup, and I caught a glimpse of myself in a certain light. For a split second, I didn't recognize the texture of my own skin. It wasn't a tragedy, but it was a beck, a shock. I felt like a stranger in my own house.
I had that exact same feeling, but for me, it was my clothes. I remember putting on a pair of trousers that had been my power suit for a decade. They didn't fit. And it wasn't just that they were tight, it was that my body shape had physically shifted. My waist was different, my posture was different. As a doctor, I knew exactly why it was happening: hormones, metabolic shifts. But as a woman, I felt betrayed. I felt like my body had gone on a strike without giving me any notice.
Betrayal is the word I hear most in my office. Women feel like their bodies have broken a contract they never signed. And when the body changes, the mind follows. We start questioning our value. If I'm not the young, vibrant woman anymore, then who am I? Am I just a collection of symptoms? Am I just the mother or the professional? The invisibility factor is real, Elena. Many of my patients say they feel like they've become transparent in public spaces.
That's a heavy realization. And physiologically, there's a reason we feel so off. When we hit that 40+ mark, our estrogen levels don't just dip, they fluctuate wildly before they settle. Estrogen isn't just about reproduction, it's a master regulator of our brain chemistry. It affects our serotonin, the feel-good hormone, and our dopamine. So when your estrogen drops, your sense of well-being can drop right along with it. You're not just being moody, your brain is literally trying to recalibrate to a new chemical environment. And that's where the psychological work begins. Because if you don't understand that there's a biological basis for your identity crisis, you start to blame yourself. You think you're failing at aging. We see these ageless celebrities and think that's the standard. But real reconstruction starts with acceptance. It's about saying, okay, the old references, the ones based on youth and external validation, are falling away. What's left?
Exactly, and what's left is often much more powerful. I tell my patients that the second half of life is about shifting from quantity to quality. Your metabolism slows down, yes, but it's also an invitation to be more intentional with how you move and what you eat. It's not about punishing your body for changing. It's about nourishing the body you have now.
I love that, nourishing the body you have now. But Elena, let's get into the nitty-gritty. I get asked this all the time. Is it normal to feel like I've lost my spark? People describe it as a brain fog that makes them feel less competent, which then destroys their self-esteem at work.
It is 100% normal and 100% biological. Brain fog is one of the most common complaints in perimenopause and menopause. Estrogen helps with glucose uptake in the brain. When those levels drop, your brain is essentially running on low battery for a while. It's not that you're losing your intelligence. Your hardware is just undergoing a massive update. The problem is that society tells us that if we aren't 100% productive and sharp all the time, we're becoming obsolete. And that's the myth we need to bust. Obsolete? No, you're evolving.
Think about it. When we were in our 20s and 30s, so much of our energy was outward facing. We were pleasing others, building careers, raising children, trying to fit into boxes. This shift, as painful as it is, forces us to look inward. The reconstruction of self-esteem in our 50s is about internal references. It's about asking, what do I think of me? Instead of, what does the world think of me? Let's talk about the myths for a moment, Julia. One that always comes up in my clinic is the idea that your sex life is over after 50, or that you'll never feel sexy again because your body doesn't look like it did at 25.
Oh, that's a big one, and it's so damaging. Libido is a complex cocktail of hormones, emotions, and relationship dynamics. Yes, your vaginal tissues might change, and your desire might not be as spontaneous as it used to be. But intimacy in your 50s can be much deeper because it's based on connection and communication, not just hormones driving the bus. I tell women that desire can be cultivated. It's not something you just have or don't have. It's a garden you tend to. And from a medical standpoint, there are so many ways to help with the physical side of that. Local treatments, HRT, hormone replacement therapy, when appropriate, lifestyle changes, but the mental block is often the biggest hurdle. If a woman feels ugly because she has a bit more weight around her midsection, which, by the way, is a natural protective mechanism as the body tries to store estrogen and fat cells, she won't want to be intimate. We have to stop seeing our bodies as the enemy. I often ask my clients to do an exercise. Look at your body not as an ornament, but as an instrument. What has this body done for you? It's carried you through decades. Maybe it's birthed children. It's survived illnesses. It's felt joy. When we shift from how does it look to what has it experienced, the self-esteem starts to rebuild on a foundation of gratitude rather than aesthetics. That's beautiful, Julia. Another myth I want to tackle is the all or nothing approach to health. Women often think, well, I've gained 10 pounds and my skin is sagging, so why bother going to the gym or eating well? They give up. But this is actually the most critical time to invest in your health. Not to look 20, but to feel strong at 70. Muscle mass is our longevity currency.
It's about shifting the goalposts. In our youth, the goal was perfection. Now the goal is vitality. I see so many women who, once they let go of the need to be perfect, actually become more radiant. There's a specific kind of beauty that comes from a woman who is comfortable in her own skin, even if that skin has lines. It's a beauty of essence. And that's the new essence we mentioned in the beginning. It's the woman who knows who she is. She doesn't need to perform anymore. Julia, I've noticed that since I turned 50, I have a much lower tolerance for nonsense. Is there a psychological term for that? Actually, yes. There's a theory that as our estrogen drops, the hormone that makes us nurturing and agreeable, our testosterone, relatively speaking, stays more stable. This can lead to what some call the menopausal zest. We stop caring so much about social niceties and start caring more about our own needs and truths. It's not that we're becoming mean, we're becoming authentic. I love that, menopausal zest. It's like a second puberty, but this time we have the wisdom to handle it. But what about the women who feel stuck in the middle? They aren't young anymore, but they don't feel old either. They feel like they're in a liminal space, a hallway between two rooms. That hallway is where the magic happens, Elena. It's the space of reconstruction. If you're in that hallway right now, listening to us, know that it's okay to feel lost. You're grieving the woman you were to make room for the woman you're becoming. The key is to not rush through the hallway. Sit in it. Ask yourself, if I didn't have to please anyone, what would I do with my time? How would I dress? How would I speak?
I think we also need to talk about the community aspect. So many women go through this in silence. They think they're the only ones struggling with their self-image or their changing moods. When we talk about it, like we're doing right now, the shame evaporates.
Exactly. Shame thrives in silence. When you realize that your best friend, your sister, and the woman you admire at work are all navigating the same reconstruction, it becomes a shared journey. We are a tribe of women evolving together.
Let's address a few questions we got from our listeners. One woman asked, how do I deal with the grief of my younger self? I look at old photos and I just want to cry. That's a very common feeling. My advice is to allow yourself to cry. Honor that girl in the photo. She did a great job getting you to where you are today. But then, Look at yourself today and find one thing that the girl in the photo didn't have. Maybe it's your resilience. Maybe it's the way you handle a crisis. Maybe it's the depth of your friendships. You've traded some of that youthful glow for a depth that only time can provide. And another question. Elena, I'm tired all the time and I don't recognize my body in the mirror. Where do I even start to feel like me again? I always say, start with the physical foundations. Check your blood work. Are your iron levels okay? How is your thyroid? Are you getting enough vitamin D? Sometimes low self-esteem is actually low energy masked as a psychological problem. Once your biology is supported, you have the fuel to do the emotional work Julia talks about. You can't build a new house on a foundation that's crumbling from lack of maintenance.
And once the foundation is set, start a self-discovery journal. Not a to-do list, but a to-be list. Who do you want to be in this next chapter? If the old references, the job title, the perfect body, the role of the fixer are gone, what's left? Usually, what's left is your soul's true essence. We're coming to the end of our time today, but I feel like we've only scratched the surface. This journey of reconstruction isn't a weekend project, it's a lifelong evolution. It really is. And to the woman listening, please be patient with yourself. You are in a process of becoming. The "who am I now" question isn't meant to be answered in a day. It's a question you live into. Your body is changing, your life is changing, but that isn't the end. It's the beginning of a much more honest and powerful version of you. You are moving from a beauty that is seen to a beauty that is felt. And you are not alone. We are right here with you, evolving alongside you. If this conversation touched you, please share it. Send it to that friend who you know is struggling with her reflection. Let's start a movement of women who aren't afraid to reconstruct themselves. Thank you for joining us on She's Evolving. I'm Elena. And I'm Julia. Remember, the old references may be falling, but you are standing stronger than ever. See you in the next episode. Keep evolving.
You know, Elena, what you just said about the decline in estrogen isn't just a biological fact. It's a psychological earthquake. When we talk about auto-esteem and reconstruction, we have to acknowledge that for many of us, our self-worth was built on a foundation of doing and looking. We were the ones doing everything for our children, doing everything for our careers, and looking a certain way while doing it. When the biology changes, that foundation cracks. And that's where the "who am I now" question really starts to ache. It's not just about the reflection in the mirror, it's about the reflection of our soul in our daily lives.
Exactly, Julia. And I see this in my office every single day. A woman comes in and she's not just complaining about hot flashes or weight gain around the midsection, though those are frustrating. She's complaining about a loss of self. She tells me, "Elena, I don't feel like the captain of my own ship anymore." And as a doctor, I have to explain that while yes, the hormones are shifting the sails, she is still the captain. We just need to learn how to navigate these new waters. It's a transition from a fast-paced motorboat to a seasoned sailboat. You need more intuition, more grace, and a better understanding of the wind. That's a beautiful metaphor. It leads us perfectly into some of the myths we need to bust today. I think the biggest myth, and I want to hear your medical take on this too, is that this stage of life is a slow decline. Society treats women over 40 or 50 as if we are fading out, like a sunset that's almost over. But what if it's not a sunset? What if it's a shedding of skin? I love that. Let's tackle a specific myth that I hear constantly. My metabolism is broken forever, so why bother? This is so damaging to self-esteem. Women feel like their bodies have betrayed them, so they stop trying to connect with them. They stop moving, they stop nourishing themselves properly because they think the battle is lost. But the truth is, your metabolism isn't broken. It's just demanding a different kind of respect. You can't treat a 50-year-old body the way you treated a 25-year-old body. You need more protein, more strength training to protect your bones, and much more rest. When you give your body what it actually needs now instead of what you think it should need based on your 20s, your self-esteem begins to heal because the physical discomfort lessens.
And from the psychological side, the myth I want to shatter is that I am no longer attractive because I don't look young. We have been brainwashed to believe that beauty and youth are synonyms. They are not. Beauty in our 50s is about presence. It's about the depth in our eyes, the wisdom in our smile, and the confidence of a woman who has survived storms. When a woman realizes that her essence is actually more magnetic than her smooth skin ever was, her reconstruction of self-esteem takes a massive leap forward. Elena, I've seen women in their late 50s start new businesses, find the love of their lives, or finally start that art project they delayed for 30 years. That's not fading out. That's blooming in a different season. It really is. And speaking of blooming, we have to talk about the myth of libido. Julia, is it true that my sex life is over after 50? I get asked this at least 3 times a week. The answer is a resounding no. But, and this is a big but, it requires a reconstruction of what intimacy looks like. It might not be the spontaneous, hormone-driven fire of our youth. It becomes something more intentional, more communicative, and often more deeply satisfying because we actually know what we want now. We aren't trying to please someone else's expectations, we are exploring our own pleasure. That's such an important point. Self-esteem is intimately tied to our right to feel pleasure. If we decide we are past our prime, we shut down those sensory parts of ourselves. Reconstructing self-esteem means reclaiming the right to feel good, whether that's through intimacy, through the food we eat, or the clothes we wear. I often tell my clients, stop waiting to lose 5 kilos to buy that dress. Buy the dress that fits the woman you are today. Honor the body that has carried you through 5 decades of life. That body is a hero, not a project that needs fixing.
A hero. I'm going to use that in my clinic, Julia. Your body is a hero. Think about everything it has done. It has navigated stress, perhaps birthed children, survived illnesses, and kept your heart beating through every heartbreak. To look at that body in the mirror and only see flaws is a tragedy. When we talk about who am I now, the answer should be, I am a survivor, a creator, and a woman who is just getting started on her own terms.
As we move toward the end of this conversation, I want us to think about some practical reconstruction steps for our listeners. If someone is listening right now and they feel lost, like their old references, their kids leaving home, their changing face, their shifting career, have all fallen away, where do they start? For me, it starts with the mirror ritual. Not looking for wrinkles, but looking into your own eyes and saying, I see you. I'm not leaving you. And for me, from the physical side, it starts with a body audit. Go get your blood work done. Check your hormones, your vitamin D, your thyroid. Don't just suffer through it thinking it's just aging. When your internal chemistry is balanced, your brain fog lifts, your energy returns, and suddenly the psychological work Julia talks about becomes so much easier to do. You can't build a new house of self-esteem on a foundation of exhaustion. That's a perfect partnership of mind and body. You know, Elena, I was reading a poem the other day that said, I am not getting older, I am becoming a classic. I think that's the energy we want to leave with our listeners today. You aren't a fading memory of your younger self. You are a masterpiece in progress. The reconstruction isn't about fixing something that's broken. It's about renovating a space to make it more comfortable, more luxurious, and more you than it's ever been.
I couldn't agree more. This journey of She's Evolving is exactly that, an evolution. It's not a straight line, and it's certainly not a downward slope. It's a spiral, moving upward, taking everything we've learned and using it to fuel this next incredible chapter. If you're feeling the weight of the changes, remember that diamonds are formed under pressure. This pressure you feel, it's just the universe making sure you shine.
What a beautiful way to close. To everyone listening, take a deep breath. Feel the air in your lungs. That breath is proof that you have a purpose today. Your essence hasn't gone anywhere. It's just waiting for you to clear away the old references so it can finally take center stage. You are enough, exactly as you are, in this very moment of transition.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of She's Evolving. It's been such a privilege to share this space with you, Julia, and with all of you at home, in your cars or on your walks. Remember, your body is changing because it's alive, and your soul is expanding because it's ready for more. Don't be afraid of the who am I question. The answer is the most exciting thing you'll ever discover. And if this conversation touched your heart, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, a sister, or a colleague who might be struggling to find her reflection. Let's create a community of women who aren't just aging, but evolving together. subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review, and let us know what reconstructing your self-esteem looks like for you. We are in this together. Until next time, take care of your body, honor your hormones, and listen to your heart. You are evolving beautifully. We'll see you in the next episode. Keep evolving, keep questioning, and above all, keep loving the woman you are becoming. Goodbye for now.